I sat in Dr. Chen's office on a Tuesday morning. My 68th birthday had been the week before. The diagnosis came that same day, stage 2 breast cancer. Not the birthday present I'd hoped for. But Dr. Chen had been reassuring. Treatable, he'd said. 85% success rate with standard protocol. We'll start with surgery, then chemo. I've already submitted the authorization to your insurance. That was 3 weeks ago. Now Dr. Chen was staring at his computer screen with a confused look I'd never seen before. He clicked his mouse a few times, frowned, looked at me. "Linda, according to our records, you declined treatment." I stared at him. The words didn't make sense. "I what?" "The insurance authorization." He turned the screen toward me. "It shows here that you declined treatment, that you don't want to proceed with surgery or chemotherapy." My hands went cold. The exam room felt suddenly smaller, colder. "Dr. Chen, I never declined anything. I want the treatment. I told you that." He pulled the screen back, scrolling through something. "The form came through last week. It says, let me see. Patient has decided to decline recommended treatment protocol. Patient wishes to pursue quality of life over aggressive intervention." He looked up at me. "Those aren't my notes. This came from your medical power of attorney holder." Medical power of attorney. I'd signed that document 5 years ago. Jessica had insisted. "Mom, what if something happens and I can't reach you? What if you're unconscious and someone needs to make decisions? You need to have someone designated." She'd been so concerned, so responsible, or so I'd thought. "Who submitted that form?" I asked. My voice sounded strange, distant. Dr. Chen clicked again. "Jessica Martinez, your daughter, correct? She has your medical POA on file." I pulled out my phone, called Jessica. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. I hung up, called again, voicemail. I called a 3rd time. This time she answered. "Mom, I'm in a meeting. Can I call you back?" "Did you tell my doctor I don't want cancer treatment?" Silence on the other end. Too long. "Mom, we talked about this. The chemo would be so hard on you. At your age..." "We never talked about this, Jessica. When did we talk about this?" "You're confused. The cancer, it affects judgment sometimes. Dr. Chen even said..." "Dr. Chen never said that. Jessica, I want the treatment. I want to live." My hands were shaking now. The phone almost slipped. "Mom, I have to go. We'll talk about this later. I'm just trying to protect you from..." She hung up. I sat there holding my phone. Dr. Chen was watching me carefully. "Linda, I need to be very clear about something. I never recommended declining treatment. Your prognosis is good. This decision wasn't medical. Do you understand what I'm saying?" I understood. I called my insurance company, spent 20 minutes on hold, finally got a representative. "Yes, Ms. Thompson, we have the form here, submitted 8 days ago by your power of attorney holder, Jessica Martinez. She indicated you were declining the recommended treatment protocol." "I didn't decline anything. She had no right..." "Ma'am, according to our records, Ms. Martinez has full medical power of attorney. She's legally authorized to make healthcare decisions on your behalf if you're unable to do so." "I'm not unable. I'm sitting right here. I'm telling you I want the treatment." "I understand, ma'am, but the authorization has already been denied based on the POA holder's submission. You'll need to work that out with Ms. Martinez or consult a lawyer about the power of attorney status." "I'm sorry." I hung up, looked at Dr. Chen. He looked back at me with something I recognized. I'd been a teacher for 35 years. I knew pity when I saw it. "Dr. Chen, how long can I wait? For the treatment?" He took off his glasses, rubbed his eyes. "Every week matters with cancer, Linda. The sooner we start, the better your odds. I'd recommend acting within the next 2 to 3 weeks if possible." I nodded, stood up. My legs felt shaky, but they held me. I walked out of that office and sat in my car in the parking lot for 10 minutes, stared at my phone, at Jessica's name in my recent calls. I'd given her everything, $85,000 for that Stanford MBA she'd insisted she needed. $120,000 for the down payment on her house in the suburbs, the one with the good school district for Emma. $45,000 for Emma's private school tuition when Jessica said public schools weren't good enough. $30,000 to bail her out of credit card debt 4 years ago. She'd promised it was a one-time thing. $280,000 total over her lifetime. I thought I was building her future. I thought I was being a good mother. That's when I understood. My daughter wanted me dead, and she was using the power I'd given her to make it happen. I drove home on autopilot, same route I'd taken for 40 years. Down Oak Street, left on Maple, right into my subdivision. The houses all looked the same. Ranch-style, well-kept lawns, American flags on a few porches. I'd lived in this neighborhood since Tom and I bought the house in 1983. Raised Jessica here. Watched her ride her bike up and down these streets. My house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac. White siding, black shutters, rose bushes along the front that I'd planted 30 years ago. I pulled into the driveway and just sat there for a minute. The steering wheel felt cold under my hands. Inside, everything was exactly as I'd left it that morning. Coffee cup in the sink from my 6:30 routine on the back porch. Photo albums on the bookshelf, organized by year, another teacher habit that never died. I stood in the living room and looked at the pictures on the wall. Jessica's college graduation, her in that cap and gown, beaming. Emma as a newborn, 3 pounds, 12 ounces, so tiny she fit in my hands. Tom's retirement party 6 months before the heart attack took him. I was 68, widowed for 12 years now. Tom had been a good man. Worked as an engineer for 35 years, saved carefully, left me with an $800,000 estate. The house was paid off. I had my teacher's pension. I was comfortable, secure, or I thought I was. Jessica had been a good kid once. Bright, ambitious, maybe a little entitled, but I'd chalk that up to being an only child. She got into Stanford's business school. I was so proud. That MBA cost a fortune, but Tom and I made it work. After he died, I kept supporting her. The house down payment when she married Mark. Emma's private school tuition. That debt bailout 4 years ago when she'd gotten in over her head with credit cards. I'd signed the medical power of attorney 5 years ago. Jessica had brought the papers over one Sunday afternoon. "Mom, you should have someone designated. What if something happens and you're unconscious? What if there's an emergency and Mark and I can't reach you? You need to have this in place." She'd been so insistent, so concerned. I'd signed it in my kitchen, right there at the table where we'd had 1,000 family dinners. Trusted her. Why wouldn't I? She was my daughter. Looking back now, I could see the signs I'd ignored. 6 months ago, Jessica had asked about my will. "Just want to make sure everything's in order, Mom. You know, in case anything happens." I'd thought she was being responsible, planning ahead. I'd shown her the documents, the will, the trust, the account information. She'd taken notes, asked detailed questions about the estate value, the life insurance policies, when things would transfer. At Christmas, Mark had mentioned they were under financial stress. I'd offered to help. Jessica had snapped at him, told him not to worry me with their problems. I'd let it drop. I didn't like conflict. Never had. Spent 35 years teaching 8-year-olds to use their words, to talk things out peacefully. I'd raised Jessica the same way. Avoid confrontation. Keep the peace. Be nice. That had been my mistake. There'd been rumors about Jessica. I'd heard them at book club. Nancy mentioned she'd seen Jessica at the casino in town. Saw her there 2 Saturdays in a row, Nancy had said. Just thought it was odd. I'd dismissed it. People exaggerate. Jessica liked to have fun, sure, but she was a financial advisor. She understood money. She wouldn't be reckless. Then 18 months ago, she'd lost her job. The whole firm downsized. Not her fault. She'd worked there for 15 years. I knew it hurt her pride. She stopped talking about work, got quieter when I asked about finances. I'd tried to respect her privacy, give her space. Now I wondered what else I'd missed while I was being polite. A knock on my back door startled me. Through the window, I saw Margaret, my neighbor from the house behind mine. We'd been doing morning coffee together for 5 years now, ever since her husband died. She was 70, a retired ICU nurse with short gray hair and a no-nonsense manner I appreciated. I opened the door. She took one look at my face and said, "What happened?" I told her. All of it. The appointment, the treatment denial, the phone calls, Jessica's voice saying, "You're confused." The insurance company telling me my daughter had the legal right to let me die. Margaret listened, didn't interrupt. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Linda, that's elder abuse, medical and financial. You need to fight this." "I don't know how." "Yes, you do." Margaret squeezed my hand. "You taught 3rd grade for 35 years. You dealt with bullies, manipulators, kids who lied right to your face. You knew how to handle them. This is the same thing, just higher stakes." She was right. I'd spent decades spotting manipulation, setting boundaries with difficult parents, advocating for vulnerable kids. But this was my daughter, my only child, the little girl I'd raised, sacrificed for, loved unconditionally. "What if I'm wrong?" I asked. "What if she really thinks she's protecting me?" Margaret looked at me steadily. "Linda, she told your doctor you don't want cancer treatment. She told the insurance company the same thing. She did it without asking you, without telling you. Does that sound like protection, or does that sound like someone who wants something else?" I knew the answer. I just didn't want to say it out loud. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay there at 3 a.m, staring at the ceiling fan, thinking about Jessica, about Emma, my granddaughter, 16 now, smart and funny and kind. Would I see her graduate high school? College? Would I be there when she got married? Had babies of her own? Or would Jessica's signature on that form be the last decision made about my life? At 5:30, I got up, made coffee, sat on my back porch in the dark, watching the sun come up over the neighborhood. The roses needed deadheading. I'd get to them Saturday like always. The routine had always comforted me, predictable, stable. But I realized something sitting there in the dawn. Jessica was counting on my routine, counting on me to be too polite, too conflict avoidant, too tired to fight back, counting on me to just accept her decision and fade away quietly. I thought I knew better. I thought I was being a good mother, supportive, trusting. I was wrong. And now I was going to have to do something I'd spent 68 years avoiding. Fight with my own daughter. Not for money, not for pride, for my life. The next morning, Margaret came over for our usual coffee, 7 a.m., like clockwork. She took one look at me and said, "You didn't sleep." "Not much." She poured herself coffee from the pot I'd made. We sat on the back porch. The sun was coming up, birds singing, everything normal, except nothing was normal. "Have you talked to Jessica again?" Margaret asked. "No, I don't know what to say to her." Margaret sipped her coffee. "You're going to have to deal with this, Linda. Cancer doesn't wait." I knew she was right, but the thought of confronting Jessica again made my stomach hurt. I'd spent 68 years avoiding conflict. Hard to break that habit in a day. After Margaret left, I went to sort through the mail. I'd been letting things pile up since the diagnosis. Too overwhelmed to deal with bills and junk mail. Jessica had offered to help. "Mom, let me take care of this for you. You've got enough on your plate with the cancer." I'd been grateful. One less thing to worry about. Now I opened the pile carefully, flipped through catalogs, grocery store flyers, credit card offers. Then I found them. 3 envelopes from the hospital billing department. All marked, past due, in red letters. All unopened. I tore open the first one, a bill for blood work from 2 months ago, past due by 45 days. The second one, imaging from my initial diagnosis, past due by 60 days. The third, consultation fees, past due by 30 days. Jessica had said she was helping with my bills. She'd taken these bills and never paid them, never even opened them. I sat at my kitchen table. the same table where I'd signed that power of attorney 5 years ago, and felt something shift inside me. This wasn't an accident, this wasn't confusion, this was deliberate. I called my financial advisor, Tom Harrison. He'd handled my accounts since my husband died 12 years ago. Good man, careful, always returned calls promptly. "Linda, how are you feeling?" His voice was warm, concerned. "Tom, I need to ask you something. Has Jessica contacted you recently? About my accounts?" Silence on the other end. Too long. "Linda, I probably should have called you about this. Jessica reached out about 3 months ago. She wanted information about your estate, the total value when accounts would transfer, whether there were any restrictions on beneficiaries." My hands went cold. "What did you tell her?" "I told her I couldn't discuss your accounts without your permission. She said you'd asked her to handle your finances. I asked her to have you call me to authorize it. You never called, so I didn't share anything." "I never asked her to do that, Tom." Another silence. I was afraid of that. Linda, these kinds of inquiries, they're concerning, especially from family members. In 30 years of doing this, I've learned that when someone starts asking about estate timing, they're usually not thinking about their parents' best interest. I thanked him, hung up, stared at the unpaid bills on my table. 3 o'clock that afternoon, Jessica showed up at my door. I hadn't called her, hadn't texted, but somehow she knew. Maybe Mark had told her I'd called Tom. Maybe Tom had called her to say I was asking questions. I didn't know and I didn't care. I let her in. She was dressed for work, navy suit, heels, her hair perfect. She looked tired though, circles under her eyes. Her hands shook slightly as she set her purse on the counter. "Mom, we need to talk." "Yes, we do." I stayed standing. Didn't offer her coffee, didn't invite her to sit. "You called my financial advisor about me." She said it like an accusation. "Tom is my financial advisor, Jessica, and yes, I asked him some questions." "You're confused about the treatment situation. I'm not confused." My voice came out harder than I'd expected. 35 years of teacher voice, the one I'd used when a kid was lying right to my face. "The doctor says I'm not confused. My insurance company says you blocked my cancer treatment. Tom says you've been asking about my estate value, and I found these." I held up the unopened medical bills. "You said you were helping with my bills." She glanced at the bills. Something flickered across her face. Panic? Guilt? But it was gone fast. "Mom, you're making this into something it's not. I'm protecting you. The chemo would be too hard at your age. The side effects..." "I'm 68, Jessica, not 90, and I want the treatment." "You're not thinking clearly. The cancer..." "Stop saying that." I felt my hands clench. "There is nothing wrong with my mind. I know exactly what you're doing." She stared at me. For a second, I saw something in her face. My daughter, the little girl who used to cry when I dropped her off at kindergarten. Then it was gone. Her expression went cold, closed off. "If you're going to be like this, I can't help you." She picked up her purse. "I was trying to spare you pain, but if you want to suffer through months of chemo, that's your choice. I have to go." She walked out, didn't slam the door, just left quietly, like she was the reasonable one and I was the difficult, confused old woman. I stood in my kitchen for a long time after she left. Then I went to my home office, the small room where I kept my files. I'd been organized my whole life. Teacher habit. Everything labeled, everything filed. I found my will in the filing cabinet, pulled out the folder, looked through the papers. My copy was there, but there was also a photocopy, fresh, recently made. The copy hadn't been there 6 months ago when I'd last checked. I remembered because I'd updated my beneficiary information after Emma turned 16. Jessica had been in this file, had copied my will, had been planning something. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma, my granddaughter. "Nana, Mom says you don't want treatment for the cancer. She says you're giving up. Is that true? That doesn't sound like you." I stared at the text. Emma was 16, smart, perceptive. She'd always been close to me. We baked cookies together every Saturday when she was younger, still did sometimes when she came over. Jessica was lying to her own daughter, lying to Emma about me, controlling the narrative. I texted back, "Not true, sweetie. I want treatment. Mom and I have a misunderstanding. Love you." Emma replied immediately, "Love you too, Nana. Are you okay?" Was I okay? I sat there in my office, surrounded by files and photo albums and the evidence of my organized life. My daughter had access to my medical decisions. She'd blocked my cancer treatment. She'd been asking about my estate. She'd lied to me, to Emma, probably to Mark. And I had given her the power to do all of it. I went back to the kitchen, found the recycling bin, dug through it, found what I was looking for, a crumpled piece of paper. I smoothed it out. It was an email, printed. From Jessica's email address to my insurance company, dated 8 days ago. Dear Claims Department, this is to inform you that my mother, Linda Thompson, has decided to decline the recommended cancer treatment protocol. After consulting with me regarding the side effects and recovery time, she has decided to prioritize quality of life over aggressive medical intervention. Please update her records accordingly. She has granted me medical power of attorney to make these decisions on her behalf. Respectfully, Jessica Martinez. I read it twice, 3 times. Every word a lie. I'd never consulted with her. Never said I wanted to prioritize quality of life. Never granted her permission to make this specific decision. She'd written this email, printed it, then thrown it away. Maybe she'd meant to shred it. Maybe she'd just forgotten about it. But here it was. Evidence. Proof. Margaret knocked on my back door again. I let her in, showed her everything. The bills, the email, Emma's text, the photocopied will. She looked at me with her steady nurse's gaze. Linda, you need a lawyer. This isn't just about the medical POA anymore. This is financial exploitation. This is abuse. She's my daughter. I know. Margaret squeezed my hand. But that doesn't give her the right to do this. You taught 3rd grade for 35 years. You know that loving someone doesn't mean letting them hurt you. I sat down at my kitchen table, the same table where Jessica had done her homework, where we'd had family dinners, where I'd signed that power of attorney, trusting her completely. I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you do. Margaret's voice was gentle but firm. You've stood up to difficult parents, to administration, to bullies. You've advocated for kids who couldn't speak for themselves. Now you need to advocate for yourself. She was right. I knew she was right. But this was different. This was my daughter, my only child, the person I'd sacrificed everything for, and she was trying to let me die so she could inherit faster. I looked at Margaret. What do I do first? First, she said, we document everything. Then you find an elder law attorney, someone who specializes in power of attorney abuse, someone who can help you fight this. I nodded, picked up my phone, started taking pictures of the bills, the email, the photocopied will, everything. I was 68 years old. I'd avoided conflict my whole life, but I was done avoiding, done being polite, done trusting blindly. I was going to fight, not for pride, not for revenge, for my life. Margaret came back the next morning with her laptop. We're going to look at your bank accounts, she said. You need to know what's really going on. I'd avoided online banking. I was 68, grew up with paper statements and checkbooks. Jessica had set up the online access for me 2 years ago. It's easier, Mom. You can see everything in real time. I'd logged in once, felt overwhelmed by all the screens and buttons, and gone back to waiting for the monthly statements in the mail. Now Margaret sat next to me at my kitchen table. What's your username? I found the paper where Jessica had written it down for me. Margaret typed it in, asked for the password. I gave it to her. The screen loaded, and there it was, a transfer, dated 3 months ago, $15,000. From my checking account to an account ending in 4738. The memo line said loan repayment. I stared at the numbers. I never made Jessica a loan. Margaret scrolled down. There's more. Another transfer. $2,000. 6 months ago. Memo. Gift. Then another one. $3,500. 4 months ago. Memo. Emergency assistance. Another. $1,200. 5 months ago. No memo at all. My hands started shaking. Margaret reached over and took one of my hands in hers, held it steady, didn't say anything, just held my hand while I stared at the screen. $21,700. Gone. Transferred to account 4738. I didn't know that account number, but I knew whose account it was. Linda. Margaret's voice was quiet, gentle. That's my daughter, the little girl I raised, and she was stealing from me. I sat there staring at the screen. That's my daughter, the little girl I raised, the one who brought me dandelions from the yard when she was 3, who cried when I dropped her off at kindergarten, who called me first when she got engaged, and she was stealing from me, taking money while I wasn't looking, while I was being a good mother, a trusting mother. Margaret squeezed my hand. I realized I was crying. I hadn't even noticed. We need copies of this, Margaret said. She pulled out her phone, started photographing the screen. Evidence, you'll need it. I wiped my eyes, nodded, tried to pull myself together. 35 years of teaching. I knew how to compartmentalize, how to function when things were falling apart. What else do we need? I asked. Medical records. Let's see what other documents she's forged. I called the hospital records department, requested copies of all forms signed on my behalf in the last 6 months. They said it would take 3 business days. I paid the $15 fee, gave them my address. While we waited for those, Margaret had another idea. Your email, does Jessica have access to it? I don't know, she helped me set it up. Margaret's grandson, Tyler, 20 years old, computer science major, came over that afternoon. Nice kid. Patient. He sat at my computer and pulled up my email. Settings. Mrs. Thompson, you have an auto-forward rule set up. Every email you receive is automatically forwarded to, he checked, to Jessica Martinez 2014 at Gmail. What does that mean? It means she's getting copies of everything. Your medical emails, your bank alerts, everything. She's been monitoring your accounts. He showed me the emails, months of them. Insurance correspondence, doctor's appointment reminders, bank statements, financial advisor messages, all forwarded to Jessica automatically. Can you turn it off? Margaret asked. Already done, Tyler said. And I'm changing your password to something she won't guess. Mrs. Thompson, you should probably change all your passwords. Bank, insurance, everything. I nodded, felt numb. My daughter had been watching everything. Every email, every transaction, every piece of my life. Tyler printed out the email logs, highlighted the forwarding rule, added it to the growing pile of evidence on my kitchen table. The medical records arrived 4 days later. I opened the envelope with Margaret sitting next to me. Inside were copies of every form submitted in my name over the last 6 months. The treatment denial form. Patient declines recommended protocol. Signature. Linda Thompson. Except it wasn't my signature. It was close. Jessica had practiced apparently, but the L was wrong. I always made my L with a little loop at the bottom. Teacher habit from years of writing on chalkboards. This L was straight, sharp. There were other forms too, a DNR preference form I'd never signed. Patient wishes no extraordinary measures. Another forged signature. A beneficiary change form for my retirement account, changing the beneficiary from Emma to Jessica. That signature was forged too. Margaret took pictures of everything. The pattern is clear, she said. She's been forging your signature on multiple documents, medical and financial. That helps your case. I called Tom, my financial advisor, back, asked him to send me documentation of Jessica's inquiries from 3 months ago. He emailed me his notes within an hour. Jessica Martinez called regarding estate planning for Linda Thompson, requested information on total estate value, transfer timing upon death, restrictions on beneficiaries, early distribution options. Advised that I could not discuss client accounts without written authorization. Jessica stated her mother had granted her power of attorney and would be calling to authorize. No authorization call received. Tom had dated his notes, time-stamped them. Professional, thorough, evidence. I had one more call to make. I drove to Dr. Chen's office, asked to speak with him in person. His nurse looked concerned, but got him for me. Dr. Chen came out to the waiting room. "Linda, are you all right?" "I need something from you, in writing. I need you to state that you never recommended I decline treatment, that my prognosis is good, that the decision to decline wasn't medical." He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "Come to my office." He wrote it out by hand on his prescription pad, then typed it up on official letterhead, signed both copies, gave me one, kept one for his records. The letter was clear. Linda Thompson, age 68, diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. Recommended treatment protocol, surgery followed by standard chemotherapy. Expected success rate, 85%. At no time did I recommend declining treatment. Patient expressed clear desire to proceed with treatment. Decision to decline, as submitted by power of attorney holder Jessica Martinez, was not based on medical recommendation and is contrary to patient's expressed wishes. I read it twice. This was evidence. This was proof that Jessica had lied, had blocked treatment I wanted, had used the POA not to protect me but to, what? Let me die faster? That night, I spread everything out on my kitchen table. Bank statements showing the unauthorized transfers, the forged signatures on medical forms, the email forwarding logs, Tom's notes, Dr. Chen's letter, all of it. Evidence. Proof. Margaret looked at it all. "Linda, this is elder abuse, financial and medical. You have documentation, you have professional witnesses. You need to take this to a lawyer." "I know. I can help you find someone, an elder law attorney, someone who handles power of attorney abuse cases." I looked at the evidence, at my daughter's forged signatures, at the money she'd stolen, at the treatment she'd blocked. "She's going to lose everything," I said quietly. "When this comes out, her reputation, her relationship with Emma, maybe her freedom if there are criminal charges. Linda." Margaret's voice was gentle but firm. "She was willing to let you die for money. That's not your fault. That's her choice." I knew she was right, but it didn't make it easier. This was my daughter, my only child, and I was about to destroy her life, but she'd tried to destroy mine first. "Help me find a lawyer," I said. Margaret already had her phone out. "I know someone, Sarah Brennan, elder law specialist. Her mother died from financial abuse 10 years ago. She's made it her mission. If anyone can help you, it's her." She made the call right there, explained the situation, set up an appointment for the next day. I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by evidence, by proof of my daughter's betrayal, and I thought about what came next: courts, lawyers, judges, maybe criminal charges. Definitely the end of whatever relationship Jessica and I had left, but also treatment, life, a chance to see Emma graduate, to watch her grow up, to be there. I'd spent 68 years avoiding conflict, being nice, trusting people, especially family. That ended now. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan turning in the dark. 3:17 a.m., according to the clock on my nightstand. I got up, made coffee, sat at my kitchen table. The evidence was still spread out. Bank statements, forged signatures, email logs, Tom's notes, Dr. Chen's letter, all of it pointing to one conclusion. My daughter had betrayed me, was willing to let me die, for money. I pulled out my photo albums, found the one from 3 years ago, flipped through until I found it. Thanksgiving dinner. Jessica smiling at the camera, her arm around Emma, the dining room table full of food. Turkey, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole. Emma had just turned 13. She'd helped me make the pumpkin pie that year. Jessica had brought wine, expensive bottles she'd insisted on. Mark had carved the turkey. We'd said grace, laughed, told stories. Jessica had hugged me that night, stood in my kitchen after everyone left and helped me put away leftovers. "Thanks for everything, Mom," she'd said. "I love you." I stared at that photo, that smiling woman with her arm around my granddaughter. When had she changed? When had money become more important than me? Or had I just never seen who she really was? I thought about all the times I'd made excuses for her, the credit card debt. Everyone struggles sometimes. The job loss. The economy is hard. The casino rumors. People exaggerate, always giving her the benefit of the doubt, always believing the best, always avoiding the hard conversations. I'd been a teacher for 35 years. I knew what enabling looked like. I'd counseled parents about it 100 times. You're not helping by making excuses. You're teaching them there are no consequences. I'd said those words, believed them, applied them to everyone except my own daughter. I closed the photo album, went to my junk drawer, found my scissors, the same ones I'd used for 35 years of cutting out bulletin board decorations, trimming construction paper, helping kids with art projects. Good scissors. Sharp. Reliable. I opened the album again, found that Thanksgiving photo, the happy family, the lie. I cut it, right down the middle, separated Jessica from Emma, put Emma's half aside, looked at Jessica's half, her smiling face, her arm reaching toward a granddaughter who wasn't there anymore in the frame. I put Jessica's half in the trash, sat there looking at Emma's half. My granddaughter, 13 in that photo, 16 now, smart, kind, funny. She deserved better than this, deserved better than a mother who would lie to her, who would try to steal her inheritance, who would manipulate and scheme. I didn't know if cutting up that photo made me a bad mother, but I knew this. I couldn't save Jessica. She'd made her choices, forged my signatures, stolen my money, blocked my cancer treatment. Those were her decisions, her actions. But I could save myself, and I could protect Emma from learning that this kind of behavior was acceptable, that loving someone meant letting them destroy you. I'd spent 68 years avoiding conflict with Jessica, smoothing things over, keeping the peace, being the good mother who never said no, never set boundaries, never made things difficult, and it almost killed me. Not anymore. At 9 a.m., I met Sarah Brennan in her office downtown. Margaret came with me. Sarah was in her 50s, professional suit, short dark hair, firm handshake. Her office walls were covered with framed certifications: elder law specialist, power of attorney expert, patient advocate. "Mrs. Thompson," she said, "Margaret told me about your situation. I'd like to hear it from you." I told her everything: the cancer diagnosis, the treatment denial, the POA I'd signed 5 years ago, the bank transfers, the forged signatures, the email monitoring, Jessica's gaslighting, Emma's text, the evidence I'd collected. Sarah listened, took notes, asked questions. Her pen moved fast across the legal pad. When I finished, she looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Mrs. Thompson, may I call you Linda?" "Yes." "Linda, what you're describing is elder abuse, medical and financial. Your daughter has used her power of attorney not to protect you, but to exploit you. The forged signatures constitute fraud. The unauthorized bank transfers are theft. And blocking your cancer treatment," she paused, "that's attempted murder by omission." The words hung in the air. Attempted murder, my daughter. "What can we do?" I asked. "We file for emergency revocation of the power of attorney. We'll need to demonstrate several things to the court. First, that you're competent to make your own medical and financial decisions. That's easy. You clearly are. Second, that Jessica has abused the POA authority. Third, that there's immediate risk of harm if the POA remains in effect." "The cancer," I said. "Exactly. Every week you wait for treatment decreases your odds. Dr. Chen's letter establishes that. We'll also file for a temporary restraining order preventing Jessica from making any further medical or financial decisions on your behalf until the hearing." "How long will this take?" Emergency hearings can be scheduled within 2 to 3 weeks. We'll request expedited consideration given the medical circumstances. Sarah leaned forward. Linda, I need to be clear about something. This will be difficult. Jessica will fight back. She'll likely claim you're incompetent, that the cancer is affecting your judgment, that she was acting in your best interest. Her lawyer will try to paint you as confused, influenced by others. She nodded at Margaret, unable to make rational decisions. I'm not confused. I know that. But we'll need to prove it to a judge. You'll need to testify, answer questions, have your competency evaluated by a court-appointed professional, face your daughter in a courtroom. I thought about that, sitting across from Jessica in court, looking at her while lawyers argued about whether she'd tried to kill me for money, whether I was competent to choose my own medical care, whether my own daughter had the right to let me die. I can do that, I said. Sarah studied me. Linda, I have to ask, are you sure you want to do this? Once we file, there's no going back. Your relationship with Jessica, whatever's left of it, will be destroyed. This will be public record. There may be criminal charges. Jessica could face jail time. Your granddaughter will be caught in the middle. I sat in the lawyer's office and realized something. I'd spent 30 years avoiding conflict with Jessica, and it almost killed me. Not anymore. I'm sure, I said. I'm not just fighting for my cancer treatment. I'm fighting so no one else's daughter can do this to them. So Emma doesn't grow up thinking this is acceptable. So Jessica faces consequences for the first time in her life. Sarah nodded, wrote something down. All right, here's what we'll do. I'll file the emergency petition today. Request a hearing within 2 weeks. We'll submit all your evidence. The bank statements, the forged documents, the email logs, the professional statements from Dr. Chen and your financial advisor. I'll need you to write a declaration, in your own words, describing what happened, what you discovered, how you felt. I can do that. We'll also need witnesses, Dr. Chen, your financial advisor, anyone who can testify to your competency and Jessica's actions. Margaret, I said, looking at my friend. She squeezed my hand. I'll testify. Sarah made more notes. Linda, I need to warn you about something. When Jessica learns we've filed, she may panic. She may try to withdraw more money, forge more signatures, make more medical decisions before the court stops her. We need to move fast. How do we stop her? I'll file for an immediate temporary restraining order, emergency relief. If the judge grants it, and given the circumstances I think she will, Jessica will be legally prohibited from accessing your accounts or making medical decisions as of tomorrow. If she violates that order, it's contempt of court. I nodded, tried to process it all, courts, judges, restraining orders, against my daughter. There's one more thing, Sarah said. Linda, Jessica may try to contact you. To apologize, to explain, to convince you to drop this. You cannot engage with her. Anything you say can be used in court. If she calls, don't answer. If she shows up at your house, don't let her in. All communication goes through attorneys now. No more conversations. No more conversations, Sarah confirmed. This is legal now, not personal. Do you understand? I understood. My daughter and I would speak through lawyers now, stand on opposite sides of a courtroom, fight about whether she had the right to control my life, my death. When do we start? I asked. We already have. Sarah stood up, extended her hand. I'll file the paperwork this afternoon. You should receive notice of the hearing date within 48 hours. In the meantime, change all your passwords, bank, email, anything Jessica might have access to. Inform your bank and insurance company that you're challenging the POA. Put everything in writing. I shook her hand. Her grip was firm, confident. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We haven't won anything. But Linda? She looked at me seriously. You're doing the right thing. Fighting for your life isn't selfish. It's survival. Margaret and I walked out of that office into the bright afternoon. The sun was too cheerful, too normal. Everything looked the same. The parking lot, the cars, the people walking by, but I felt different. I'd spent 68 years being nice, being understanding, avoiding confrontation, trusting people, especially family. That woman was gone. I got in my car, Margaret in the passenger seat. "You okay?" she asked. "No," I said. "But I will be." I drove home. Same streets, same subdivision, same house with the rose bushes out front, but I walked in the door a different person. The evidence was still on my kitchen table. I looked at it all. Then I picked up my phone, called the hospital, made an appointment with Dr. Chen for the following week. "I want to discuss starting treatment," I told the scheduler, "as soon as legally possible." "We'll need authorization from your insurance." "You'll have it," I said. "My lawyer is working on it." I hung up, looked at the photo albums on my shelf, at the cut-up picture in the trash, at the evidence of my daughter's betrayal spread across my table. I taught 8-year-olds for 35 years, taught them to stand up to bullies, to tell the truth, to face consequences, to do the right thing even when it was hard. Time to take my own advice. Sarah filed the paperwork that afternoon, called me 2 hours later. The judge granted the temporary restraining order. As of now, Jessica cannot access your bank accounts or make medical decisions on your behalf. Any violation is contempt of court. The emergency hearing is scheduled for 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks, 14 days. Then a courtroom, a judge, my daughter on the other side. "What happens now?" I asked. "Jessica's lawyer will be served with the papers tomorrow morning. She'll know you're challenging the POA. She'll file a response, probably claim you're incompetent, that I'm manipulating you, that the cancer is affecting your judgment. Standard defense strategy. Don't let it rattle you." But it did rattle me, because I knew Jessica, knew she wouldn't take this quietly. The call came that night, 8:30, Jessica's name on my phone screen. I stared at it, let it ring. Sarah's voice in my head. "Don't answer. Anything you say can be used in court." The phone went to voicemail, buzzed a minute later with a text. "Mom, please call me. We need to talk. I can explain everything. This is all a misunderstanding. I love you." I put the phone down, walked away, poured myself tea I didn't drink. An hour later, another text. "Mom, please don't let that lawyer turn you against me. I'm your daughter. I was trying to protect you. Please give me a chance to explain." I blocked her number. It felt like cutting off a limb. But Sarah was right. This was legal now, not personal. Except it was personal. It was my daughter. And she was begging me to talk to her, and I was sitting in my kitchen ignoring her, and I didn't know if that made me strong or cruel. Margaret came over. Found me sitting in the dark. "Linda?" She's calling, texting, asking me to talk to her. Don't. She says it's all a misunderstanding. Margaret sat down across from me. "Linda, is it a misunderstanding that she blocked your cancer treatment?" "No." "Is it a misunderstanding that she stole $21,000 from your account?" "No." "Is it a misunderstanding that she forged your signature on multiple documents?" "No." My voice cracked. "Then there's no misunderstanding. There's just Jessica trying to manipulate you one more time. Don't let her." I knew Margaret was right, but it didn't make it easier. 3 days later, Sarah called. Jessica's lawyer filed their response. As expected, they're claiming you lack capacity to challenge the POA due to cancer diagnosis affecting cognitive function. They've requested a mental competency evaluation. The judge will appoint an independent evaluator. When? Probably next week. It's standard procedure. Don't worry, you'll pass easily. But Linda, there's something else. Jessica filed a counter motion. She's asking the court to maintain the POA and grant her full conservatorship over your financial and medical affairs. Full conservatorship. Like I was incompetent. Like I couldn't make my own decisions. Like I was a child. She wants total control, I said quietly. Yes, and there's more. Jessica's lawyer submitted affidavits from Mark, her husband, and from Jessica herself. They claim you've been confused for months, that you've been influenced by Margaret, that you're not thinking clearly due to cancer stress. I felt cold. Mark was testifying for Jessica? Against me? I'd paid for their wedding, helped them with Emma, welcomed him into our family. They're fighting back hard, Sarah said. This is going to be uglier than I thought. That evening, Emma called. I almost didn't answer, worried she'd been coached by Jessica. But it was Emma, my granddaughter. I couldn't ignore her. Nana? Her voice was small, scared. Hi, sweetie. Mom told me you're suing her, that you're trying to take everything away from her, that you're sick and not thinking straight. I closed my eyes. Of course Jessica had told her that. Of course she'd made herself the victim. Emma, that's not what's happening. Your mom and I have some legal issues to work out. It's complicated, but I love you. That hasn't changed. She's crying, Nana, like all the time. She says you hate her, that you're going to destroy our family. My heart hurt because Emma loved her mother. Of course she did. And now Emma was caught in the middle of this, confused and scared and being told lies. I don't hate your mom, Emma. I just need to protect myself. I'm sorry you're in the middle of this. Silence on the other end. Then, Nana, I found something. In Mom's desk, receipts from the casino. Like a lot of them. $40,000 worth over 6 months. And bills, past due notices for credit cards I didn't know she had. Is Mom in trouble? My hands went numb. Emma had found the gambling receipts, the evidence of Jessica's financial crisis. Emma, you need to talk to your dad about this. Not your mom, your dad. Can you do that? Okay. Her voice was shaky. Nana, are you really sick? Yes, sweetie. I have cancer. But I'm going to get treatment and I'm going to be fine. Mom said you didn't want treatment. Your mom was wrong about that. Another silence. I love you, Nana. I love you too, baby. After we hung up, I sat there thinking about Emma, 16 years old, finding her mother's gambling receipts, learning her grandmother had cancer, watching her family fall apart. None of this was her fault. None of this should be her burden. But it was, because Jessica had made it that way. 2 days before the hearing, I met with the court-appointed evaluator, Dr. Patricia Morrison, a psychologist who specialized in competency assessments. She came to my house, spent 3 hours with me, asked me questions about my medical history, my current situation, my decision-making process. Can you tell me why you're challenging the power of attorney? She asked. I told her. Everything. Calmly. Factually. Showed her the evidence. The bank statements, the forged signatures, the email from Jessica blocking, my treatment. Dr. Morrison took notes, asked follow-up questions, tested my memory, my reasoning, my understanding of the situation. At the end, she closed her notebook and looked at me. Mrs. Thompson, in my professional opinion, you are fully competent to make your own medical and financial decisions. Your cognitive function is intact. Your reasoning is sound. You clearly understand the implications of challenging the POA and the potential consequences. I'll submit my report to the court. Thank you. For what it's worth, she said quietly, I think you're doing the right thing. What your daughter did, that's elder abuse. You have every right to protect yourself. After she left, I felt a small sense of relief. The evaluator believed me, would tell the judge I was competent. That was something. But then the phone rang. My bank. Ms. Thompson, we're calling to alert you that there's been activity on your joint account. A withdrawal of $30,000 was made this morning. My stomach dropped. By whom? The account holder, Jessica Martinez. She's a co-signer on that account. Technically, she has the right to withdraw funds. However, given that we received notice of the restraining order yesterday, we wanted to inform you immediately. $30,000 gone. The joint account Tom and I had opened 40 years ago for household emergencies. Jessica had emptied it. She's violating the restraining order, I said. That's a legal matter, ma'am. You'll need to contact your attorney. I called Sarah immediately. She was furious. That was a joint account? I didn't know about a joint account. We opened it in 1985. I forgot it was still in both our names. Jessica's panicking. She knows the hearing is in 2 days. She knows she's going to lose. So she's grabbing what she can while she still has access. Sarah's voice was hard. This is good for us, Linda. This shows the judge exactly what we're dealing with. I'll file an emergency motion tonight. Jessica just committed contempt of court. Good for us. $30,000 stolen, and it was good for us because it proved Jessica was desperate, reckless, willing to violate a court order. I sat in my kitchen that night, thought about the past 2 weeks, Jessica's texts begging me to talk to her, her lawyer claiming I was incompetent, Mark's affidavit against me, Emma caught in the middle, finding gambling receipts, scared and confused, the competency evaluation, the $30,000 stolen. This was war. And my daughter was willing to burn everything down rather than admit what she'd done. I looked at the calendar. 2 days until the hearing. 2 days until I'd walk into that courtroom and face Jessica. Until I'd tell a judge about the money stolen, the signatures forged, the treatment blocked. 2 days until I'd either get my life back or lose everything trying. I made myself dinner, ate it at my kitchen table, called Emma to check on her. She was staying with a friend, didn't want to be home. Smart girl. Then I went through the evidence one more time, made sure everything was organized, practiced my testimony with Margaret. At 10 p.m., my phone buzzed. Jessica again from a different number. Mom, I know you blocked me. Please, I'm begging you. Don't do this. Let's sit down and talk. Just you and me. We can work this out. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please. I stared at the text for a long time. My daughter. Begging. Sorry. Scared. Then I thought about Dr. Chen's office, the treatment denial, the $21,000 stolen, the $30,000 more taken today, the forged signatures, the lies to Emma. I deleted the text, blocked the new number. Sarah was right. This wasn't personal anymore. It was survival. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, the kind of place that smelled like old paper and air conditioning. Judge Helen Morrison presiding. 60 years old, maybe. Gray hair pulled back. Reading glasses on a chain. She looked tired, like she'd heard too many family fights over the years. Sarah sat next to me at one table. Across the aisle, Jessica sat with her lawyer, a man in an expensive suit who looked bored. Jessica wore navy blue, conservative. Her hair was perfect. She wouldn't look at me. Emma sat in the back row of the gallery, 16 years old, watching her grandmother and mother fight in court. I caught her eye. She gave me a small wave. I tried to smile. The courtroom was cold. Or maybe that was just my nerves. My hands felt numb. I kept them folded in my lap so no one could see them shaking. Judge Morrison looked over her glasses at both tables. This is an emergency hearing regarding the power of attorney status between Linda Thompson and her daughter, Jessica Martinez. Ms. Brennan, you filed the petition. Please proceed. Sarah stood. Your Honor, Linda Thompson is seeking emergency revocation of the medical and financial power of attorney currently held by her daughter, Jessica Martinez. We'll demonstrate that Ms. Martinez has systematically abused this authority for financial gain, blocked medically necessary cancer treatment, and engaged in ongoing financial exploitation. We have evidence of forged signatures, unauthorized bank transfers totaling over $50,000, and documented attempts to claim Miss Thompson is incompetent when she is clearly not. Jessica's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client strongly disputes these allegations. Ms. Thompson is 68 years old, recently diagnosed with cancer, and is being unduly influenced by her neighbor. He gestured dismissively toward Margaret in the gallery. And by counsel. Ms. Martinez has acted only in her mother's best interests. We'll demonstrate that Ms. Thompson lacks the capacity to make these decisions, and that Ms. Martinez should retain the POA. Judge Morrison nodded. Ms. Brennan, call your first witness. Dr. David Chen. Dr. Chen came forward, took the oath, sat in the witness box. He looked calm, professional. I'd known him for 3 years. He'd always been kind. Now he was here to testify about my daughter's betrayal. Sarah approached. Dr. Chen, you're Linda Thompson's oncologist? Yes. Can you describe Ms. Thompson's diagnosis and prognosis? Linda was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer approximately 6 weeks ago. The recommended treatment protocol is surgery followed by standard chemotherapy. With this treatment, her expected success rate is approximately 85%. It's a very treatable cancer at this stage. Did you recommend that Ms. Thompson decline treatment? Absolutely not. Linda expressed a clear desire to proceed with treatment. I submitted the insurance authorization immediately. What happened to that authorization? Dr. Chen looked at Jessica, then at me. The insurance company informed me that the treatment had been declined. According to their records, Linda's power of attorney holder, her daughter, submitted a form stating that Linda wished to decline treatment and prioritize quality of life over aggressive intervention. Did Ms. Thompson ever express that desire to you? Never. In every conversation, Linda made it clear she wanted treatment. She wanted to live. Sarah held up a document. Is this the letter you wrote regarding this situation? Yes. Can you read the highlighted portion for the court? Dr. Chen put on his reading glasses. At no time did I recommend declining treatment. Patient expressed clear desire to proceed with treatment. Decision to decline, as submitted by power of attorney holder Jessica Martinez, was not based on medical recommendation and is contrary to patient's expressed wishes. Sarah turned to Jessica's lawyer. Your witness. Jessica's lawyer stood, approached Dr. Chen. Doctor, isn't it true that cancer patients sometimes experience cognitive difficulties? In some cases, yes. Advanced cancers, certain treatments. So it's possible that Ms. Thompson was confused about what she wanted. No. Dr. Chen's voice was firm. Linda's cancer is early stage. There's no cognitive involvement. She was and is fully competent to make her own medical decisions. But she's 68 years old. Age doesn't equal incompetence, counselor. Linda Thompson is sharp, articulate, and fully aware of her medical situation and options. Jessica's lawyer sat down. Judge Morrison made a note. Ms. Brennan, next witness. Tom Harrison. Tom walked to the witness box. My financial advisor for 12 years. Steady, careful Tom. He looked at me kindly before taking the oath. Sarah established his credentials. Then, Mr. Harrison, did Jessica Martinez contact you regarding Linda Thompson's estate? Yes, approximately 3 months ago. She called my office requesting information about Linda's total estate value, the timing of asset transfer upon death, whether there were restrictions on beneficiaries, and whether there were options for early distribution. What did you tell her? I told her I couldn't discuss client accounts without written authorization from Linda. Jessica claimed Linda had granted her power of attorney and would be calling to authorize the discussion. That call never came. In your 30 years as a financial advisor, have you encountered this situation before? Tom nodded. Unfortunately, yes. When a family member starts inquiring about estate timing and transfer procedures while the account holder is still alive, it's concerning. In my experience, it usually indicates that the family member is more focused on inheritance than on the account holder's well-being. Sarah projected an image on the courtroom screen. Do you recognize this? Bank statements, the unauthorized transfers, $15,000, then the smaller amounts, the $21,000 total, all highlighted in yellow. Those are transfers from Linda's account to an account ending in 4738. That's Jessica Martinez's personal account. The dates span 6 months. The total is $21,700. Did Ms. Thompson authorize these transfers? No. When I reviewed these with Linda 6 weeks ago, she was unaware they had occurred. Jessica's lawyer stood. Objection. Hearsay. Judge Morrison looked at Sarah. Ms. Brennan, Your Honor, Ms. Thompson will testify about this directly. Mr. Harrison is establishing the financial timeline. I'll allow it. Objection overruled. Continue. Jessica's lawyer cross-examined briefly. Mr. Harrison, joint accounts allow either party to withdraw funds, correct? That's technically true. So Jessica Martinez had legal access to these accounts? The checking account transfers were not from a joint account. They were unauthorized, and the joint account that was accessed, Tom's voice hardened slightly, was accessed in violation of a court-issued restraining order. $30,000 was withdrawn 2 days ago. Jessica's lawyer sat down quickly. Judge Morrison raised her eyebrows, made another note. Sarah called Margaret briefly, testified to Linda's competency, daily interactions, witnessed to evidence discovery. Then the handwriting expert confirmed the forged signatures on medical forms. Both testimonies were brief, professional. The evidence spoke for itself. Then Sarah said, "Your Honor, I'd like to present the evidence directly." The screen lit up again. Bank statements, then the medical forms with the forged signatures, the L in Linda's name, wrong, the expert's comparison, then the emails, Jessica's auto-forward rule, her email to the insurance company declining treatment on Linda's behalf. Every lie, every forgery, every theft, projected 10 feet high on a screen in a county courtroom. I watched Jessica's face. She was staring at her hands, wouldn't look up. "Ms. Martinez," the judge said, "your lawyer has indicated you wish to testify?" Jessica stood, walked to the witness box, took the oath, sat down, finally looked at me. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. Her lawyer stood. "Jessica, can you explain why you blocked your mother's cancer treatment?" Jessica's voice was quiet. I was trying to protect her. She's 68. The chemo, the side effects are horrible. Hair loss, nausea, exhaustion. I didn't want her to suffer through that. I thought it would be easier if she just... She stopped, wiped her eyes. If she just what? If she didn't have to go through all that pain. Sarah stood for cross-examination. "Ms. Martinez, your mother explicitly told you she wanted treatment, didn't she?" Jessica hesitated. She said that, but she wasn't thinking clearly. Yes or no? Did your mother tell you she wanted cancer treatment? Yes. And you blocked it anyway. I was protecting her. Or were you protecting your inheritance? Sarah's voice was sharp. You inquired about your mother's estate value 3 months ago, didn't you? I was just planning ahead. You withdrew $21,700 from your mother's account without her knowledge or permission, correct? Jessica's face crumpled. I was going to pay it back. When? After she died? Objection! Jessica's lawyer stood. Your Honor, counsel is badgering. Sustained. Ms. Brennan, watch your tone. Sarah nodded, softened her voice slightly. Ms. Martinez, can you tell the court why you needed that money? Silence. Jessica looked at her lawyer. He nodded. I have debts, gambling debts. I lost my job 18 months ago and I made some bad decisions. I thought I could win it back, but it got out of control. I owe $85,000. My house is in foreclosure. Mark is leaving me. Everything is falling apart. So you took your mother's money. I was going to pay her back. Jessica was crying now, really crying. I thought if I just had access to the estate, I could fix everything, pay off the debts, save my house. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I needed the money. And your mother's cancer treatment? How did blocking that help your financial situation? Jessica didn't answer, just cried. Judge Morrison leaned forward. Ms. Martinez, I need to hear an answer. Jessica's voice was barely a whisper. If she died, the estate would transfer. I could pay off everything, start over. The courtroom went silent. Even her lawyer looked shocked. So you blocked your mother's cancer treatment, Sarah said quietly, because you needed her to die faster so you could inherit and pay your gambling debts. I didn't think about it like that. How did you think about it? I don't know. I wasn't thinking. I was desperate. I'm sorry. Mom, I'm so sorry. Jessica looked at me, tears streaming down her face. I looked back at her. My daughter, the little girl I'd raised, who'd brought me dandelions, who'd cried at kindergarten, who'd called me first when she got engaged, and who'd been willing to let me die for money. Judge Morrison spoke. I've heard enough. Ms. Brennan, does your client wish to make a statement? Sarah looked at me. I nodded, stood up. My legs felt shaky, but they held me. Your Honor, I just want to say, I'm not here because I hate my daughter. I'm here because I want to live. I have cancer. I want treatment. I want a chance to see my granddaughter graduate, to grow old, to be there. And my daughter took that choice away from me, used the power I gave her to block my treatment, stole my money, forged my signature. I don't know if she meant to kill me or if she just didn't care if I lived or died, but I know I can't trust her, and I need the court to give me my power back, the power to choose my own medical care, to control my own money, to live my own life. I sat down. My hands were shaking. Sarah squeezed my arm. Judge Morrison took off her glasses, looked at Jessica, then at me, then at the evidence still projected on the screen. I've reviewed the evidence submitted by both parties. I've heard the testimony. I've read Dr. Morrison's competency evaluation. The facts are clear. Linda Thompson is fully competent to make her own medical and financial decisions. Jessica Martinez has systematically abused her power of attorney authority for personal financial gain. She has blocked medically necessary treatment. She has forged legal documents. She has stolen over $50,000. She has violated a court-issued restraining order. The judge looked at Jessica. Ms. Martinez, what you have done is elder abuse. It is financial exploitation. It is fraud. And frankly, it's reprehensible. Your mother trusted you with her life, and you used that trust to try to benefit financially from her death. Jessica was sobbing now. Her lawyer put his hand on her shoulder. Therefore, Judge Morrison continued, I am granting Linda Thompson's petition. The power of attorney is revoked immediately and permanently. Ms. Martinez is prohibited from making any medical or financial decisions on Ms. Thompson's behalf. The temporary restraining order is made permanent. Ms. Martinez is ordered to repay the $51,700 stolen from Ms. Thompson's accounts. This matter is being referred to the District Attorney's Office for criminal investigation of fraud and elder abuse charges. The judge looked at me. Ms. Thompson, you have the absolute right to choose your own medical treatment. I hope you get the care you need. This court stands adjourned. The gavel came down. I sat there, felt numb. Sarah was talking to me, but I couldn't hear her, couldn't process. The POA was revoked. Jessica was ordered to repay the money, criminal charges. I'd won. When the judge read her decision, I didn't feel victorious. I felt sad and relieved, but mostly, I felt free. After court, Emma came down from the gallery. Jessica tried to approach her, but her lawyer pulled her back. Emma walked to me instead, hugged me. I'm proud of you, Nana, she whispered. Are you okay, sweetie? No, but I will be. Can I come stay with you for a while? I don't want to go home. I held my granddaughter, 16 years old, watching her mother be found guilty of elder abuse, watching her family fall apart in a courtroom. Of course you can, I said, always. Jessica was being escorted out by her lawyer. She looked back at me once. Our eyes met across the courtroom. I didn't know what to feel. Anger, sadness, pity, all of it. None of it. She was my daughter, and she'd tried to kill me for money, and now she was gone. Emma moved into my guest room that night, brought a duffel bag of clothes, her laptop, a stuffed bear she'd had since she was 5. She was quiet. Helped me make dinner, grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup, comfort food. We ate at the kitchen table. Didn't talk much. What was there to say? Her mother had just been found guilty of elder abuse. Her family was shattered, but she was here. With me. The next morning, I called Dr. Chen's office, made an appointment for that week. I want to start treatment, I told the scheduler. Surgery first, then chemo, as soon as possible. Let me check with the doctor and get back to you. She called back an hour later. Surgery scheduled for 10 days out. Mastectomy. Then 6 months of chemotherapy. Standard protocol, the treatment Jessica had tried to block. I was 68 years old, and I was going to fight for my life. The legal consequences came swiftly. Within a week, the district attorney's office filed criminal charges against Jessica. 2 counts of financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, 1 count of fraud, 1 count of forgery. The prosecutor called me. Explained that because of the dollar amounts and the pattern of abuse, these were felonies. Jessica faced up to 10 years in prison. In the end, she took a plea deal, 2 years probation, $45,000 in restitution. The court reduced it from the full $51,000 because Jessica's financial situation was dire. Community service, mandatory counseling for gambling addiction, a permanent mark on her record. Her lawyer argued she had no prior criminal history, that she was remorseful, that prison would destroy what was left of her life. The judge agreed to probation, but made it clear. 1 violation, and Jessica would serve time. The financial restitution was structured as a lien against Jessica's house, what was left of it after foreclosure proceedings. The payments would take years, maybe decades. I'd probably never see most of that money, but that wasn't really the point anymore. Mark filed for divorce 3 weeks after the hearing. Emma told me he'd moved out, found an apartment across town. He still saw Emma, picked her up on weekends, took her to dinner, but he and Jessica were done. Finished. Extended family. My sister in Ohio, Tom's brother in California, called when they heard what happened. All of them sided with me. Some were angry at Jessica. Some were just sad. My sister said, "I always thought she was too focused on money, but I never imagined she'd do something like this." Emma stayed with me through it all, through the surgery, through the first chemo session when I came home exhausted and sick, through the hair loss. She helped me pick out scarves at the mall, made jokes about us both being terrible at tying them. She learned to make my favorite casserole, did her homework at my kitchen table while I rested on the couch, applied to colleges from my computer. 6 months after the hearing, she got her acceptance letter, University of Washington, nursing program. She'd decided she wanted to be a nurse after watching Dr. Chen and Margaret help me, after seeing what it meant to care for people who were vulnerable. I framed that acceptance letter, hung it in my living room where Jessica's college graduation photo used to be, a new legacy, a better one. Margaret came over almost every day during treatment, brought casseroles, tuna, green bean, chicken, and rice, all the comfort foods. She tended my rose garden when I was too tired, sat with me during the bad days when the chemo made me so sick I couldn't get out of bed. One afternoon, about 4 months into treatment, we were sitting on my back porch, morning coffee, 7 a.m. like always. The sun was coming up. My hair had started growing back, soft and fuzzy, like a baby's. "You know what I realized?" Margaret said. "What?" "I stayed in a bad marriage for 40 years because I didn't want to rock the boat. I let my husband make all the decisions, control all the money. I told myself I was being a good wife, keeping the peace." She looked at me. "Watching you fight, stand up to Jessica, go to court, take your power back. It taught me something. It's never too late to have boundaries, to stand up for yourself." She reached over and squeezed my hand. "Thank you for that. Thank you for being there," I said, "for helping me find the courage." "You always had the courage, Linda. You just needed a reason to use it." Margaret became more than my neighbor. She became my sister in every way that mattered. And when I updated my medical directive, removing Jessica, adding a new backup, I asked Margaret if she'd be willing to serve, with strict limitations, clear instructions. No one would have the kind of power over me that Jessica had. Never again. "I'm honored," Margaret said, "and I promise, I'll only use it if you truly need me to." Dr. Chen monitored my progress carefully. The mastectomy was successful. The chemo was brutal but effective. Every 3 weeks, I'd go in for treatment, sit in the infusion center for hours, come home exhausted, but alive, fighting, surviving. Dr. Chen stopped by my house once during treatment, unofficial visit, brought flowers from his garden. "I wanted to check on you," he said, "not as your doctor, as someone who cares." We sat on my porch, talked about the case, about what Jessica had done. "You fought for your right to fight," he said, "and I'm going to make sure this treatment works. You're going to beat this, Linda." He kept his word. The treatment worked. 6 months later, my scans were clear, cancer-free. Dr. Chen told me later that he'd started speaking at medical conferences about my case, about the importance of questioning POA decisions that seem to contradict patient wishes, about recognizing elder abuse. He was turning my nightmare into education for other doctors. "You're making a difference," he said, "not just for yourself, for other patients." 3 weeks after my last chemo treatment, a letter arrived, forwarded from Jessica's lawyer to mine. Sarah called me when she got the copy. "Linda, Jessica sent you a letter. You don't have to read it if you don't want to, but I thought you should know it's here." I asked Sarah to read it to me over the phone. I didn't want to see Jessica's handwriting, didn't want to hold paper she'd touched, but I wanted to know what she'd said. Sarah read, "Mom, I know I messed up. The gambling got out of control after I lost my job. I kept thinking the next bet would fix everything. I thought I could pay you back before you noticed the missing money. I never meant for things to go this far. I'm in counseling now, real counseling this time. Gamblers Anonymous 3 times a week. I'm working on myself. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry, that I see what I did, that I know I hurt you. I hope you're doing well. I hope the treatment worked. I think about you every day. Love, Jessica." I sat there after Sarah finished reading. Felt nothing, then everything. Anger, sadness, relief that she was getting help, grief for the daughter I thought I had, for the relationship that was gone forever. I wrote a response. Never sent it, just needed to write the words. "Jessica, you chose money over my life. That's not something I can forgive right now. Maybe someday. But first, I need to live the life you almost took from me. I hope you get the help you need. I hope you find peace. But I can't be part of that journey. I need to focus on my own healing. I need to protect myself. And I need to show Emma that this kind of behavior is never acceptable, no matter who it comes from. I wish you well, but from a distance. Mom." I put that letter in a drawer. Didn't send it, but writing it helped, gave me closure I didn't know I needed. I updated my will that fall, worked with Sarah to create an ironclad estate plan. The bulk of my estate would go to Emma in a trust she'd access at 25, protected from Jessica, from anyone else who might try to manipulate her. A portion would go to cancer research, to the local elder law center that helped seniors fight POA abuse. Jessica's name wasn't in the will at all, not as beneficiary, not as backup, nowhere. Sarah helped me draft a new medical directive too, specific about treatment preferences, clear about who could make decisions if I became unable. Margaret as backup, Emma as secondary, both with limited powers, sunset clauses, review requirements. "You're not taking any chances," Sarah said. "Never again," I agreed. My house felt different after everything, quieter, but also lighter. Emma's laughter in the kitchen when she burned the casserole, Margaret's daily check-ins, the scent of roses from the garden, the photo albums reorganized, Jessica's pictures removed, more space for Emma. I framed Emma's college acceptance letter, looked at it every morning, a future, a legacy, the right way. 18 months after the hearing, I woke up to my alarm at 5:30. Same as always. Made coffee. Walked out to my back porch at 6:30 with my mug and watched the sun come up over the neighborhood. 42 years of this routine. 42 years in this house. and for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. My hair had grown back fully, short now, but thick, silver instead of the brown it used to be. I liked it. Felt like the new version of me deserved a new look. I was 70 now, 2 years cancer-free. Dr. Chen said the odds of recurrence got better every year. I had scans every 6 months. So far, everything clear. The rose bushes Margaret and I planted last spring were blooming. Pink and yellow, the colors bright against the morning light. I'd learned something about roses during treatment. They're tougher than they look. You can cut them back hard and they'll come back stronger. I thought about that a lot. Emma was in her 2nd year at University of Washington. Nursing program. She called me every Sunday. Told me about her classes, her clinicals, the patients she was learning to care for. She'd found her calling. Last month, she called excited. She'd been accepted into a summer program at Seattle Children's Hospital, pediatric oncology. I want to work with kids with cancer, Nana, because of you, because I saw how Dr. Chen took care of you. I want to do that for other families. My granddaughter, turning her mother's betrayal into purpose, turning pain into something that helped people. I couldn't be more proud. Margaret still came over most mornings. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we just sat in comfortable silence, watching the birds at the feeder. She'd started dating someone, a widower from her church. Nice man, retired firefighter. She was happy, learning that it wasn't too late to have a life of her own. You showed me that, she'd said last week. The boundaries are okay, that standing up for yourself isn't selfish. I'm 72 years old and I'm finally learning how to say no. 3 months ago, Sarah Brennan asked if I'd be willing to speak at a local senior center. They were having a workshop on power of attorney and elder law. She thought hearing my story might help people recognize warning signs, protect themselves. I said yes. I spoke to 40 seniors in a community room, told them what happened, the POA I'd signed, the trust I'd given, the betrayal, the fight to get my power back. I kept it factual, didn't embellish, just told the truth. Afterwards, 6 people came up to me. 3 said they were going home to review their own POA documents. 1 woman was crying. My son has been asking about my accounts, she said. Just like you described. I thought I was being paranoid, but now I think I need to talk to a lawyer. I gave her Sarah's card. That's when I realized my nightmare could be someone else's warning. My fight could be someone else's protection. Sarah asked me to speak again. I've done 4 presentations since then. Each time someone comes up afterward with questions, with concerns, with their own story starting to unfold. I can't save everyone, but if I can help one person avoid what happened to me, it's worth it. I don't talk to Jessica. Haven't spoken to her since the courtroom. I get updates through Emma sometimes. Jessica's in counseling, working part-time at a retail job, paying off the restitution in small installments, living in a small apartment. Mark remarried last year, someone he met at work. Jessica wasn't invited to the wedding. Sometimes I wonder if I should reach out, if I should try to repair what's left. But then I remember, she chose money over my life. And while I don't hate her, I don't trust her either. Maybe someday, but not yet. Maybe never. And I'm learning that's okay. Some relationships can't be fixed. Some betrayals are too deep. And protecting yourself doesn't make you the bad guy. I look at my life now and see what I fought for. Morning coffee on the porch, rose bushes that bloom every spring, Emma's voice on Sunday phone calls, Margaret's friendship, clean cancer scans, the simple right to choose my own medical care, control my own money, live my own life. These are the things Jessica tried to take from me. These are the things worth fighting for. I'm 70 years old. I've taught 3rd grade, raised a daughter, buried a husband, survived cancer, fought my own child in court, and came out the other side. I'm stronger than I thought I was, more capable, more resilient, and I'm not done yet. There's a quote I heard once. You don't know what you're capable of until you have no choice but to find out. I found out. And so can anyone else who faces this kind of betrayal. If you're reading this, if you recognize any part of my story in your own life, I want you to know it's not too late. You can fight back. You can protect yourself. You can get help. Call an elder law attorney. Talk to someone you trust. Document everything. And don't let guilt or family pressure stop you from doing what's right for your survival. Your life is worth fighting for. You deserve to live it on your own terms. And no one, not even family, has the right to take that away from you. I finish my coffee. The sun is fully up now. Another day. Another chance to be here. To see Emma graduate, to watch Margaret fall in love, to tend my roses, to help other people protect themselves. I choose to be here. And every morning I wake up, that choice is mine. That's what freedom looks like.